Greetings once again, pirates on the high seas. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with One Piece, where last chapter, the tragic life of Kuma, Jinny, and Bonnie. For 2 years, Jinny, former member of the Revolutionary Army, had been captured by the world government and forced to become the wife of a world noble. It's one of those things where it was always implied what happened to these wives. I mean, deductive reasoning and all that. But you never really had to think too much about it. What happened to Boa Hancock, and her sisters, just one of those things. But here, the full implications are on display. During her forced marriage, Jinny was made to give birth to a daughter, and she named her Bonnie. So Bonnie is not Kuma's biological daughter. However, Jinny contracted a disease while in Marijois. Some people theorize it might have been through a sick game, more or less, to have her suffer. Maybe it's what they do to all former wives. Who knows? But Jinny contracted a disease called sapphire scale, which, when exposed to natural light, these hardened scabs that look like sapphires start to appear more and more across the person's skin. Desperate to make sure that her daughter survived, Jinny made the hazardous trek to get back to the Sorbet Kingdom in the church where she and Kuma grew. And although she managed to contact the revolutionaries, she knew her time was impending to come to an end. She said her last words that Kuma didn't hear, and Baltigo, as he, once he realized where Jinny was, raced over. But it's a kind of trek that will take half a day at most, depending on where he is, maybe a few days. Regardless, by the time Kuma got there, Jinny was already gone. But the young infant Bonnie still lived, and the old people who managed to be with Jinny in her final moments told Kuma about what had happened, and Kuma swore to raise Bonnie as if it was him and Jinny's own child. And he did just that with the help of the old villagers. He continued to act as a member of the Revolutionary Army, training with Sabo, spending birthdays with Bonnie. But the tragedy still came. Bonnie also had the disease that developed once she was 5. Yes, 5. As it turns out, current day, Bonnie is 12 years old, which makes a lot of scenes with her very in retrospect. But regardless, Kuma quit the revolutionaries, wanting to spend all time he has with Bonnie, finding some way to cure her, which Dragon agreed to, even saying that he'd do what he could to possibly find a cure on their end. Unfortunately, Bonnie spent her days teased by children who felt she was a vampire because she could not go out into the sun. But Kuma tried to lift her spirits, saying that her disease was jewels and that it made her look beautiful. Unfortunately, when the doctor finally does tell Kuma the situation with sapphire scales, he makes it known that Bonnie to reach her 10th birthday, and that'd be the end of it. Now we know that Bonnie lives past the age of 10, but the cure is unknown, especially when King Bokeri, who was deposed from the Sorbet Kingdom by the Revolutionary Army and the freedom fighters at the time, has returned to Sorbet to continue to act his will upon the place, apparently burning things to the ground. Much like I had felt with Grey Terminal before, it seems as though how it was said that some of the ways he did things might have come down from on high. Seems that he's continued on with that, which makes me wonder, were these actions the way that the ancient kingdom was disposed of by the ancient celestial dragons of the time? And now that Bokuri is back, and the people have come to Kuma asking for his help, what will he do, especially since he has Bonnie to care for? Well, we know that Kuma becomes the king of Sorbet at some point. It's as good a time as any. So join me as I find out what happened, won't you? Alright, One Piece chapter 1099. Almost at 1100. 1100 chapters, man. Titled Pacifist. Oh, is that what they call Kuma? Oh, is that where the name Pacifista comes from? Oh, that. Whoever decided that. Questionable. And you have reader requests, Raccoon Dogs Fixing Up Odin's Hair by Mach and Takeshi. And they're making it into an Odin skewer. That's actually kind of hilarious. It's interesting to still see images of Odin. Jeez. And we see the town nearby, Kuma in flames. You see some bodies on the ground as there's townspeople on the outskirts watching on in horror. Bodies on the ground covered with blankets. Kuma I guess in the flames trying to save people. Someone calls out, "You've done enough, Kuma. There's no saving the rest. Come back. You're only going to lose your own life. Kumachi!" And Bokuri watches from the palace, now a great deal older with white hair. He smiles a sinister grin, saying, "Far to the east, another kingdom used this strategy successfully." Yep, the Goa Kingdom. The celestial dragons praised their beautiful city for being cleansed of all filth. In order to bring about great bliss and prosperity, a wise king must sometimes steel his heart and enact cruel reforms, the man said with a grin. Someone calls out, "King Bokuri! The people are mounting furious resistance!" And you see the people at the gate with pipes and weapons in their hands, fists raised in the air, crying out, "Murderer! Step down at once! Put out the fires in the south!" Bokuri, still with the grin, says, "Kill a handful of them and be rewarded." People are shot down. A woman screams. The soldiers shout, "Who dares defy the king's edict? Step forward!" And through the haze, a large figure emerges. The soldiers question, "Who's that? Stop now or be executed." And all they're met with is the bloody face of a furious Kuma. Ooh, the pure rage that's just dripping off of Kuma is palpable. We then pick up at Kuma's church, where several people are being brought in, as people shout, "Hurry, treat the wounded. Stay inside, Bonnie. You don't want to be in the moonlight." And a young Bonnie stands at the doorway, and she says, "Okay." And she looks to the blaze off in the distance. Worry fills her face, and she says, "I hope he's safe. Dad's always such a chicken. And we see Kuma launching his attack, and Bokuri cries out, "Stop right there! You know what'll happen if you strike at the king? You'll pay dearly for this, you country bumpkin breacher!" But Kuma doesn't stop. His eyes filled with people mourning over their fallen loved ones, burned to death by Bokuri's own lust for power. And Kuma unleashes a massive Ursus shock that devastates the castle. The narration tells us, "This incident would be known as the Solo Revolution of Sorbet Kingdom." We then cut to Sacred Marijois, as the Admiral tells St. J. Garcia Saturn, "I hear there's a new king in Sorbet." Saturn turns in his chair saying, "Strange. Who is it?" The announcer tells us, "Unable to resist the pleas of the people, Kuma became the king of the realm, living out of his old church." So that's how it went down. See, I kept wondering, because I'm just like, I can really see Kuma living in a palace, because he didn't. And you see the townspeople cheering Kuma's name, crying out, "Kuma! Kuma! Kuma! King Kuma!" Meanwhile, at the church, the elderly are still visiting, calling him King Kumachi, my back hurt. Kuma, still dressed as a pastor, says, "I think you can stop teasing me now. The one actually in control at the palace is Old Bulldog. I'm just a figurehead to make the people feel better." Okay. Who's Old Bulldog? Old Bulldog. Okay. But it makes a lot of sense. Again, with everything we've seen of Kuma, I couldn't see him being an actual ruler. With everything we've seen up till now, it's like, a leader? Yeah. He leads revolutionaries and stuff like that, but a king? That just doesn't add up. But a figurative inspiration for the people, that makes a lot of sense. Though that still doesn't explain Connie. Is Connie like Old Bulldog's wife or something? Two old people kind of ruling things. Queen Regent and so on and so forth. Is it just that there's a resemblance between her and Bonnie? Be kind of odd if there is, especially if there's no relation. Or maybe were they secretly Ginny's grandparents and they just didn't know. That'd be a little too convenient though. Oh no. Regardless, the elderly have come to visit Kuma, saying, back in King Bulldog's day, 2 generations ago, times were poor, but we were rich in spirit. Sure was hard not having money to go around, though. Oh, so Bulldog is the former king. Okay. So why was it decided that Bokuri would take over? Just because the people needed money? So in order to have backing from the world government, they had to place their own person in charge of things. That would make a lot of sense. Oh, what? Bonnie? Did she already eat the fruit? When did she eat it? What? Yeah, we see Bonnie running through the church. The old people say, "Who's the girl running around the church?" Goyo says, "She looks just as pretty as Ginny." Kuma shocks him, huh? Ginny? Bonnie says, why are you all so shocked? I have to be ready to go and see the horizon at sea with Daddy when I turn 10. Goya Goya says, huh? Daddy? Everyone's looking at her. Bonnie turns to the mirror saying, so I have to build up strength for, huh? And then she freaks out. And then she poofs right back to normal, startling everyone. Kuma fainted. Goya Goya says, that was Bonnie? What was that transformation? Did you eat a devil fruit? When? That's what I'm asking. Just randomly? Was one just lying around? Okay, there were theories that the devil fruit would have cured her like Law, but Law had to actually remove the Enderbear lead from his body. We know about that from a light novel. But why? I mean, some people theorize that Bonnie switching back and forth her age would have, stopped her disease, but it's like, I don't think that's how that works, but I've been wrong before. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And someone's over saying, wake up, Kumachi. An elderly man seems to be looking through the devil fruit encyclopedia saying, is this it? The age fruit? Where did she? Goya Goya's trying to instruct Bonnie saying, try doing it with your mind. Bonnie's struggling saying, get older, get older. And Kuma says, stop that, Bonnie. You're gonna wear yourself out. But people are at the church door saying, King Kuma, please, your majesty, grant us an audience. Oh, is that Connie? Huh. So it's just coincidence then. Weird. Yeah, Goya Goya lifts up Connie saying, Gah, she turned into a wrinkled old bag. It really worked. She's hideous. Dude. And Connie just doesn't respond. Meanwhile, Bonnie saying, it's not working. It's too hard to get older. Bonnie turns to the old man at the door saying, who are you, mister? The man says, you must be Princess Bonnie then. Confirmation Bonnie is a princess. Although, again, title that was brought on to Kuma through no will of his own. The man says, my name is Bulldog. I'm something like an aide to your father. I have weighty matters to discuss. But box saying, Sorbet Kingdom, former king, 2 generations ago, Bulldog. Bulldog says, my mother is already here, I see. Oh, his mother? Oh, God. Jeebus. How old is Connie? The Bulldog tells everyone she's Connie, the one-time Queen Dowager. So this is how Kuma gets called the Tyrant. It is propaganda. A lot of people called it. And anyone who started seeing Kuma from the beginning is just like, okay, I'm pretty sure him being called the Tyrant is BS. Because even Bonnie told us at the beginning of this arc. If someone says, King Bakuri's coming back? Look at the nonsense in this article. I'm certain Bakuri set this up. I mean, really, seized the throne with violence by burning villages and pinned what Bakuri did on Kuma. Bastard. Goya Goya says he's trying to overthrow us from abroad. Kuma listens silently as Bulldog tells him, it means he has the world government on his side. Bakuri will be back to take control, mark my word. There is intel that he's preparing battleship. The old people rally saying, we can't have Bakuri coming back here. He'll have us killed this time. Kuma then speaks up saying, don't worry. You won't set a single toe within this country again. As Kuma, Goya Goya, and Bulldog sit at a table, while in the background Bonnie's practicing her abilities, Kuma tells them, whatever he tries to bring back with him, I'll drive it all away. But once that happens, I'll be seen as a criminal. I won't be able to stay here anymore. Once that happens, I'll need you to be king, Bulldog. Ah, okay. I mean, there was the question of what's been happening in Sorbet since Kuma's been away. There you go. And the former king is king. We see Bonnie turn into an old lady and she looks just like Connie. She says, I did it. While Kuma turns to Bonnie saying, would you take Bonnie under your wing in that case? Even this church will be in danger. Bulldog says, alright, I'll find her a place with the same conditions. Kuma then lifts up Connie saying, Bonnie, be a good girl while I'm gone. I'll be back when I'm able. It's such a sincere moment. Connie's probably like, what the hell is going on? This poor old lady. Oh, she's in the Grand Line. She's probably seen devil fruits before. Bulldog says, that's my mom. Bonnie changes back saying, you're leaving? I'll miss you. Meanwhile, out at sea, Kuma in a lone boat sails before 3 Navy battleships with Bakuri on board bandaged up, who cries out, that's him, Navy! Kill him! He is the man who stole Sorbet Kingdom from me, a true tyrant who's committed all manner of atrocities. Kill him now! I am the true king! While Kuma simply says, you are a fool to show your face around here again. And then the Otobox? Naturally, Kuma sunk all the ships. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just like, Kuma sunk them. What did you think was gonna happen? It's just like, what did you think was gonna happen, Bakuri? He destroyed your entire castle, you dumbass. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? I have to assume that Bakuri's dead, though. Wishful thinking. You would have thought the blast at the castle would have been the thing that killed him. Though I would love it if the anime just shows Kuma just decimating these battleships. Go over the top like when Luffy, Law, and Kid were destroying battleships when they were headed to Wano. Just boom, 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 firing off paw cannon. Oh, that would be sick. And, of course, a bounty followed. So, naturally, Kuma sank all the ships and fled to sea. A bounty was placed on his head. And though his pirate reputation and great strength, its value swelled over time. Oh, we don't even get to see what his first bounty was? Ah, that's kind of a bummer. And we see Bonnie at the castle that's been rebuilt and also boarded up because she, again, can't see the sunlight. As she's pouting, saying, I wish Daddy was here. I want to see him again. Connie brings Bonnie some snacks, saying, I'm sorry, Bonnie dear. Remember, Kuma is the hero who saved this land. But Bonnie says, I don't care. He's my daddy. Once I'm 10 and I'm all better, I'll be a pirate too. Connie says, don't do it, dear. And Bonnie says, I can turn into a grown-up. I mean, that's not the equivalent of actually being that age, but oh, maybe that's how she first ended up setting out to sea. So did she just go out to sea looking for Kuma and then they never ran into each other, or that's how she got captured by the Marines or something and Kuma got convinced? Oh, is this why he sent them to these locations? I'm looking at these pages. You see Kuma just visiting all the places he sent the Straw Hats when he separated them. Here, let me pull up the names. Oh my god, okay. So all places he visited. It makes sense though. A lot of those places were places of advanced technology in some way, shape, or form. The Toronto Kingdom, which was all about medicine. Kuma visits asking the natives, have you ever seen this disease before? The people say, she can't be in sunlight? The poor thing. He visits the Kuragana Kingdom where Mihawk would be. Is that Abdul and Jeet? They say, I spy a hot bounty. Aren't you Bartholomew Kuma? And Kuma just blasts them. What a weird moment. Yeah, it does show that Kuma just easily dealt with anything that came his way. Yeah, he visits the Karakiri Island, where Vegapunk was from, where he remembers the doctor's words, your daughter has 5 years to live at best. He passes by Tequila Wolf, where it seems like he frees some of the people. He goes to Weatheria, and he meets Haradin. That was his name, right? Haradas. Haradas. Okay, there we go. Haradin is someone else. And even the Boyne Archipelago. Yeah, the Boyne Archipelago where he meets Hercules, but he still remembers the doctor's words, she won't see her 10th birthday. And then the revolutionaries come upon him as they call out, hey there, yoo-hoo. You see Morley and it's not Bello Betty, is it? Maybe not. Oh, Morley, someone who kind of looks like Bello Betty if she had longer hair. And Gambo, as Morley cries out, hey there, Kuma. And Dragon's on board too. Kuma sits with Dragon, drinking, as Dragon says, even and Inazuma were thrown in prison. And since I last saw you, you've been a king, a tyrant, and a pirate, eh? Wait, so Dragon knew where Ivanka was? And Kuma did know Izuma. Huh, interesting. Kuma says it must have come as a surprise to you. Okay, so that is Bello Betty. Morley says nobody in the Revolutionary Army took those articles seriously, of course. Bello Betty, who's sitting on Kuma's shoulder, says, hey Kuma, can I be captain of the Eastern Forces? Kuma questions, why ask me, Betty? Betty says, Dragon says the position eternally belongs to Ginny until you give permission. Oh, okay. So it was as simple as that, huh? Kuma says, so it takes a foul-mouthed woman to run the Eastern Forces? I don't mind. And Betty goes, yay! As simple as that, huh? Dragon smiles, saying, Sabo Koala and the others want to see you too. We have many promising young members rising through the rank. I want to show them off to you. Kuma has a stern look, saying, I've seen what's happening around the world, and I often wonder what you would have done, Dragon. I want to return to the fold, but Dragon says, Bonnie, as a matter of fact, I wanted to talk about her. You're aware of the Navy scientist, Dr. Vegapunk, aren't you? After the recent accident, he's going to transfer to a new lab. Ah, so the accident at Punk Hazard happened recently. Dragon says, ordinarily he kept under heavy security, but he's more approachable during the transition. Easier to find in transit. Interesting. As Kuma sets off, everyone waves him goodbye. As Kuma says, thank you, Dragon. In all honesty, I'd given it up for lost. I'll go speak with him. If I can just cure Bonnie's disease, then I'd be happy to fight with you again. Dragon pats his chest, saying, may the winds of fate guide us well, my friend. It's weird. So Dragon just left them and impelled down? Huh, so odd. We then see Bonnie beating up a grown man, so okay, even at a young age, Bonnie was actually pretty tough. Interesting. Does current Bonnie have hockey? And the beaten man says, I was going easy on her. Kuma comes through the door saying, Bonnie, that was amazing. And Bonnie cheers for her dad. We then cut to Navy Science Division Laboratory 8, later known as Egghead. Okay, so Bonnie and Kuma arrive, which she said she's been to Egghead before. And Bonnie asks, where are we? Kuma says, we're going to see a doctor to get a checkup before your disease is healed. Jeez, Vegapunk's head is just jeez. And we see Kuma carrying Bonnie in a barrel. Vegapunk is shocked to see Kuma saying, I've never seen a man like you before. And Kuma says, I was just thinking the same thing. And Bonnie pops out of the barrel saying, wow, look at his head. Gross. Vegapunk says, what a body. You have to let me study your muscles. For science, of course. And that's your sickly daughter. Kind of a brat, eh? Oh, God. I don't mind a little lip, though. I mean, considering you're all tongue, I wouldn't be surprised. Sapphire scales. You've done well to limit them for so long. She'll survive. Kuma says she will? Oh God, we see Bonnie playing with Sentomaru's axes and worried Sentomaru's like, no, don't play with that. Vegapunk tells him, I'll use some medical tech that I've been holding back from the public market. Simple as that. Jeez. And we see the moment when Vegapunk and Kuma were talking about his abilities, with Vegapunk saying, technically speaking, I'll be generating new stem cells and transplanting them. It's about as much work and cost as creating a cyborg. It's essentially stem cell research. Interesting. Kuma, sitting on the operating table, says she'll turn into a cyborg. Vegapunk says, it'll cost as much, I said. Kuma's reading through the charts and is shocked to say, tell me, are you a buccaneer? Kuma says, yes. And Vegapunk says, you know I'm with the government, don't you? I love that his first reaction is just like, buddy, government? Hello? But Kuma, without a doubt, a bit of hesitation, says, I trust Dragon wouldn't put me in danger. What makes my blood different than other people's? See, that's the thing that gets me. That statement, he's just like, I trust Dragon wouldn't put me in danger. I mean, Jinny was captured, Eva and Azuma were captured, but Dragon wouldn't put me in danger. It's like, okay. See, that's why you can't just be like, Dragon's a bum because he let all these people be captured. It's just like, for Kuma to still trust him after all that, there's definitely more to Dragon. And Vegapunk responds saying, well, I don't have enough of a sample size to explain. Later, Kuma shouts, you want to make clones of me? Vegapunk says, that's right. I've been looking for the right person to be the base for my clone soldiers. Just provide me with blood samples and permission to create clone soldiers, and I'll cover the entire cost. I'll cover the entire immense cost of Bonnie's operation. You can pay for it yourself, I assume. Yep. And that's the quid pro quo. Kuma simply says, I won't be declining the offer either way, but what will you do with them? We see Sentomaru picking up his axe with Bonnie on top of it. Jeez, okay. It did kind of feel like they had a bit of a relationship going on. But where does Kizaru step into this? Kuma says, all these soldiers that look just me? I'm gonna assume that's supposed to be look just like me. Will they be in the Navy? Vegapunk says, that's right. Tell me, do you like electromagnetic energy? When they see a human being shooting laser beams, those pirates will go mute with shock. They'll be laid low by the overwhelming power of science. My soldiers' bodies will be as hard as shields, deflecting bullets and saving the populace. They'll be heroes to the common man, the mighty warriors for the future. And then, it's interesting, Kuma hearing all this, is like, it's idealistic, making it very obvious that Vegapunk never really considered his creations being put in the wrong hands. But Kuma smiles, saying, quoting Dragon, saying, he's an odd man, but true to his desires and trustworthy. Vegapunk says, that's what Dragon said about me? The nerve. Kuma says, Perhaps if clone soldiers based on me save other people's lives, then my own life will have meant something. Two very idealistic people coming together. Oof. Vegapunk tells him, Dragon's going to be furious about the terms. But Kuma says, well, I'm nothing but grateful to you both. Yeah, it's just like, regardless, if you save Bonnie, that's all that matters. God, the entire creation of the Pacifistas, all to save Bonnie's life. Gee. Kuma smiles, saying, I would make a deal with you to save Bonnie's life, even if you were the devil himself. Just save Bonnie. And Vegapunk says, you're a true saint. Meanwhile, at Marijoa, it seems as though Saint J. Garcia Saturn was listening in, or at least being relayed the information to some degree. As he says, clone soldiers are weapons, and weapons are valued by how many they can kill. Vegapunk would let a golden opportunity slip through his fingers, but I have a plan to deal with this. And someone says, as you say, my lord. So he was listening in this time, but what about the other times? Is it that, was York always a spy? No, it couldn't be. Meanwhile, back at Egghead, well, the soon-to-be Egghead, Kuma smiles, saying, a saint? No, I'm nothing like that. Just a weak-willed pacifist. Yep, sure enough. And Vegapunk says, I like that. I think I'll use it for the name of my future soldiers. So, this really does explain why so much of Bonnie's animosity relies with Saturn. Because he was probably the person who made it so that Kuma, became a cyborg. Because that's the only piece missing at this point. Bonnie was eventually healed. More than likely, she was captured and imprisoned because of what Akainu said right before the time skip. Her life was probably threatened, but how long was Bonnie in captivity? Was she even truly in captivity? And did they steal Vegapunk's technology? It couldn't be. Then again, a lot of the Pacifistas were only used to attack pirates. Almost never used to attack any civilians, now that I actually think about it. No civilians were ever hurt when a Pacifista was around. That identified pirates, went after pirates. Simple as that. I never really thought about it like that. And usually pirates are not good people. And so, I can't blame Bonnie for being mad. So close to just having a good future with her dad, or with everything that he went through to save her, only for it to be stolen by Saturn. And it really does explain why Bonnie was crying, because it's like, it's not just the information she got about her dad's history, her mother, who she never met. Might have heard something about her from Kuma, but she never met her. Maybe did she know that she wasn't biologically Kuma's daughter? It's hard to say, but that might have been a revelation too. And then knowing the lengths that Kuma went to in order to cure her, getting so close to succeeding, only for it to be ripped away by Saturn, causing Kuma to essentially die and sacrifice himself for her, and more than likely her freedom. It's just tragedy after tragedy. I do love that Kuma's just like, what? I'll be attacked because I'm taking out the king? Nah, sorry, you gotta go. What? Hunted by Marines and bounty hunters? Nah, you're done. It's so nonchalant because, with everything Kuma's been through, it's just of course it was hard to take him down. Dude's literally a one-man army, a one-man revolution. Jeez, Kuma is something else. Man, Kuma is something else. I do feel that had Jinbei gotten to know the real Kuma, they probably would have gotten along swimmingly. That's a shame. But, Kuma has to be headed towards Egghead to fulfill his last possible goal, save Bonnie. I really did think there was a connection between Bonnie and Connie, but no, just a coincidence. It was a funny gag though, but I even got to see that Bonnie, she was no slouch. Even at such a young age, she was able to beat up full-grown men. Shoot. Now, granted, even Luffy, Sabo, and Ace could do stuff like that, but once Bonnie actually does full-on grow up, she'll be actually pretty damn capable. I wonder. I'm also curious what happens to Bonnie after all of this. Because we've gotten to a point where it's hard to really tell what's happened to a lot of the supernovas. Is Hawkins really dead? What happened to Drake? He just poof. And now with what happened to Kid and Law, it's what happens to them? Shoot, even Cabot Beige ended up losing his ship, and they commandeered a marine vessel, but more and more of the worst generation are kind of losing their means of getting around. And shoot, Scratchman Apu didn't even really have a crew. He just had one of the last of the numbers, Inbi. So I really am curious what's happening with the worst generation, because seems like a lot of them are dropping out one by one, more or less. They're losing ships, losing crews, becoming a lot less capable. So, well, let me know your thoughts on this chapter in the comments section below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.